Evening and welcome. Welcome, Chief Hill, Second Chief Beaver, Mr. Terry, staff, cabinet members. Welcome. At this time, I call to order Muskogee Creek National Council Emergency Session, June 10th, 2021. Time is 6 p.m. At this time, I'd like to ask Representative Charles McHenry to lead us in the Muskogee hymn, followed by invocation by Representative Thomasine Yahola Osborne.
Father, I thank you for this day, and I thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight. And Father, I just pray that you'll guide and direct our thoughts and our actions and our words and our decisions for our nation tonight. And Father, that travel blessings as we return home this evening. And I just pray for every person that's in this auditorium tonight, and Father, for their families, and for those that are out there who may be sick. I just lift them up, Father. And Father, I ask all these things in your name. Amen.
Amen. Roll call, National Council Secretary Christy Jackson.
Speaker Randall Hicks.
Present.
Mary Crawford.
Present.
Joyce Steer.
Present.
Patrick Freeman.
Here.
Joseph Hicks.
Here.
Robert Heft. James Jennings.
Here.
Adam Jones.
Here.
William Lowe.
Here.
Anna Marshall.
Present.
Charles McHenry.
Here.
Thomasine Yahola Osborne.
Present.
Daryl Proctor.
Here.
Mark Randolph.
Excused.
Lucian Taggart III.
Present.
Speaker, you have 13 present, 2 absent.
13 present, 2 absent, constitutes a quorum. All business conducted will be official. Order of business, TR 21095. A tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the principal chief to execute a temporary operating permit with Entertaining Angels for the operation of one temporary fireworks sales facility on tribal trust land. Sponsors James Jennings.
Speaker, I make a motion to adopt.
Motion made by Representative Jennings to adopt TR 21095, seconded by our Representative Adam Jones. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
William Lowe.
Yes.
Anna Marshall. Charles McHenry.
Yes.
Thomasine Yahola Osborne.
Yes.
Darrell Proctor,
Yes.
Lucian Tiger III,
Yes.
Mary Crawford,
Yes.
Joyce Steer,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman, Joseph Hicks.
Yes.
Speaker at 12 in favor, 0 against.
12 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. TR 21097. A tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the principal chief to execute a non-binding letter of intent for purchase of land located in Okmulgee County, Oklahoma. Sponsors Adam Jones III.
Motion to adopt, Speaker.
Motion made by Representative Adam Jones III to adopt TR 21097. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Proctor. Discussion. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Adam Jones III,
Yes.
William Lowe, Anna Marshall, Charles McHenry,
Yes.
Thomasina Hulla Osborne,
Yes.
Darrell Proctor,
Yes.
Lucian Tiger III,
Yes.
Mary Crawford,
Yes.
Joyce Steer,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman, Joseph Hicks,
Yes.
James Jennings.
Yes.
Speaker at 12 in favor, 0 against.
12 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. TR 21098. A tribal resolution of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing the principal chief to execute a certain agreement between Expedition Properties, LLC, and the Muskogee Creek Nation Department of Health. Sponsored Lucian Tiger III. Co-sponsored Mary Crawford, James Jennings, Anna Marshall, Joyce Deer.
Speaker, make a motion to adopt.
Motion made by Representative Lucian Tiger III to adopt TR 21098, seconded by Representative Marshall. Discussion. Any discussion?
Speaker, Secretary Terry, I'd like to give him time to discuss this, please.
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Mr. Terry, you have the floor, sir. Mr. Terry, can you make sure that microphone's on, please? There should be a green light.
Is that better?
There you go.
Thank you. Apologize for that. Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, National Council. To start off this evening, I want to make a public apology to the National Council and to the Principal Chief this evening. Last night, there was a press release that went out regarding this legislation, and there was comments made by Department of Health staff regarding this, and I'm embarrassed by the behavior of my staff. They have been counseled on that kind of activity, that there is a policy against that type of activity online, and we're going to try to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And I try to make sure that we don't get ahead of the National Council and the chief when it comes to pending legislation. So I do apologize for that. So Chief and Council, please accept that. This piece of property that we're talking about was formerly known as the Cancer Treatment Centers of America. You may have read in the paper several months ago that Cancer Treatment Centers of America was closing, and we had made inquiry to purchasing the property that business inhabited. That property includes a 300,000 square foot hospital. If you will turn to the tab 2 in the booklet that I provided to you, it will give all the statistics regarding this building, how long it's been open, what all of the, there's 40 private inpatient beds, there's 64 inpatient center bays, there's 3 vaults for linear accelerators, there's 3 operating suites with 4 procedure suites. It's just an outstanding location in South Tulsa, and we believe that the Muskogee Creek Nation Department of Health has an opportunity to really expand our operation into South Tulsa. We have been having discussions with the River Spirit Casino to potentially come in and partner with us and operate the hotel and food service for this operation. They'll be joining us for a tour and look at that facility. And so we're very excited to look at this. There's going to be a lot of factors that go into pursuing this facility that we're going to talk through tonight through the different components of the legislation that's being presented. One of those is going to provide a budget for 3 months that will be a temporary budget to last us through September 31st so that we can put a full budget together that will operate this facility for all of next year. And so once the execution of this contract is completed, the Muskogee Nation will take possession in a lease arrangement that will be about a $500,000 a month lease arrangement that CTCA has agreed to let us settle that upon closing of the property when we close, or if we close. This agreement also provides for us to have a $5 million upfront payment, whether you want to call it earnest money, that is non-refundable if the nation backs out of it for any reason. And then if they are not able to provide us a clean title, then they would refund us that $5 million as well. So we've worked with the Attorney General's office to make sure that the tribe is protected if they're not able to do what they say that they're going to do. We've looked at multiple uses for this facility. The budget that we're going to present this evening is about a $16 million budget. However, about $12 million of this is going to be used for the continuation of expanding our electronic medical record, which is Epic, that you guys have approved the purchase on, and multiple pieces of legislation and addendums to that over the course of the last 6 or 7 months. So about $12 million will be just continuing to grow and add to that software. And so we're looking at about a $6.5–7 million budget for operations for the next 3 months. Some of the things that we're going to do, and you're going to see some of this analysis that comes from the Department of Health. One of the things that we think that we can do on that campus, I know many of our citizens have made comments over the last several years that I've been here that they would like to see the Muskogee Nation do an urgent care and after hours type of clinic. We think that we can bring a 12-hour, 7-day-a-week urgent care into this facility and have it operated by the same emergency room physicians that are currently overseeing our Okemah and Okmulgee facilities today. We're going to look at potentially expanding our neuro services, our post-stroke, general neurology and Alzheimer's services, cardiology, urology, general surgery. We've really started looking at all of the business that we send to the Tulsa market and the money that we spend in contract health, and we really think that we can save the tribe a lot of money on what we send to Tulsa, and also that our people will be able to get to go to our own hospital in Tulsa. And one of the nice things about this campus is because there is 153 beds, that if one of our patients gets transferred from the Okemah ER and their family has to go up, we will have a hotel room right there on campus where they'll be able to stay the night at no cost to them and be near their loved ones. So With that, Speaker, I'll be happy to entertain questions. I'm sure there's going to be a lot, so I'll cut my comments short and ask for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Council, any questions, discussion for Mr. Terry? Representative Lowe.
Hello, Speaker. Secretary Terry, how many new jobs do you see if we pursue this venture?
If you look, if we compare, if it was comparable to Okmulgee and Okemah, we'll probably be close to 100 new jobs within about a year. I see that getting all the way up to maybe 150 within 2 years. So it'll be significant.
Great. Thank you, sir. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Lowe.
Speaker.
Representative Tiger.
Thank you, Speaker. Secretary Terry, could you also elaborate on the cost per square foot if we were to build this ourselves at this point in time, what that dollar amount would be currently, please?
Yes, thank you, Chairman, for that question. That is an important, that's an important feature of this agreement. The total price of this facility that's been quoted to us is $40 million. That includes the $5 million upfront payment with $35 million to come at closing. If you use today's current construction prices, which you guys know that we're building a new behavioral health building here in Okmulgee, that's at $700 a square foot right now. So that would push, if we were to build a 336,000 square foot facility, it would be over $230 million to build at that price today. So we think that this will not only, and if we started this type of facility, you guys know how long it took us to build Okemah, which was, a couple of years in the doing. And so we'll literally be able to come in, take possession of this thing, hopefully by September, and start operating and at this price. So thank you for that question.
Thank you, Secretary. Also, what, if any, equipment will remain?
Chairman, that's a really good question. The agreement that we have entered into with them is that we would receive the building, the property, and any remaining equipment that's left inside. So they have been removing equipment all week. They gave us a comprehensive list of equipment that they're taking. They couldn't provide us the comprehensive list of equipment they were leaving. So tomorrow we're going to be inside the facility and we're going to do an inventory of what's there. Through COVID though, we have a lot of new hospital beds that we think that we can move up to this location. We have already started budgeting for some new MRI machines. We think that we could relocate one of those to this location. If we're going to do this for our people, we think that we really would like to update all of the equipment and come in with some new diagnostic equipment and do this right. So we're going to take an inventory of that tomorrow, and I'll report back what the status of that is.
Thank you, Secretary Terry. Also, I'd like to add, Secretary Terry mentioned that the 20 acres in that area right now, the 20 acres is approximately $15 a square foot on that land in that area right now. So I guess it'd probably be $10-11 million would be the value of the land without the building. So that's another bonus as well, having that 20 acres in that area. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Any other discussion? Representative Yohola Osborne.
Thank you, Speaker. Mr. Terry, do you foresee any rehabilitation on the building
On the building?
or throughout?
When we toured the building a couple of weeks ago, during the ice storm, they had some of the fire extinguishers that are in the ceiling freeze and bust, and it flooded some of the building, and they've been replacing carpet and floor that's inside there. They have a facilities contractor that they have that they currently pay that upkeeps that property. They keep everything looking pretty nice. For the most part, the facility is in really great condition. It looks good. And the only real damage that we could visibly see was what they were doing there with replacing that floor from water damage. And I feel for them because we've had some of that ourselves this week. So, but that's the only significant thing that I've seen so far.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative. Representative McHenry.
Mr. Terry, will there be an ICU unit available or part of this plan or such?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. McHenry. This building does have 7 ICU rooms that are located inside there. For those of you that are familiar with Regional Brain Institute, Dr. Wanahita, who's our hospitalist group at Okmulgee and Okemah, they want to expand our post-stroke care into Tulsa, and that we would have that intensive care capability down there. So it is our intentions to begin taking more critical patients when we open that hospital up. I would like to say, though, that because of Epic and the building of Epic, we won't be turning Epic on until February of 2022. So our plan for the present is to open up the doors, start outpatient services, and then we will be building the hospital capability and flip that on in February when we turn the new electronic record on. So really, probably for the next 6 months, it'll be primarily outpatient clinics and building up to that.
Okay, next question. Thank you for that. So I don't know how you answered that. So say if this does happen, this purchase does happen, how long before, with the beginning of it, would it start now being able to receive patients?
Yeah. So I think from an outpatient clinic standpoint, I think it can happen pretty quickly. It's just going to be a matter of us getting our electronic record that we currently have today turned on there. That's through NextGen. Our IT did a walkthrough earlier this week, and they're working with the NextGen company to get us some time frames on that. I think it could happen with just a few weeks of us taking possession of it. So I could really see potentially us in June. I think we could easily be seeing patients in early July from an outpatient standpoint.
All right. One more. I know I asked you this earlier today, but I'd just like to hear you repeat it again about the turnaround. I know that the amount of money that's going to be spent, but I'd like to also know the turnaround on when money would start coming in.
Yeah, so, one of the nice things that Indian Health Service has in place right now is a program called the 105L lease. If you'll turn to section, I believe it's section 3, turn to section 3 in your folder. It talks about the Indian Self-Determination Act and what is the purpose of this subpart. And essentially, through that 105L lease, the Indian Health Service has given us authority to submit our buildings for that they will give us the lease cost on this facility. So last year, we were able to put the Okemah Hospital into this program, and we received about $4.5 million from IHS on this. So as far as debt servicing the building, we think that we're going to be able to immediately be able to cash flow however the nation decides to fund this purchase. Mm-hmm. So whether it's through this 105L lease, so that we think we'll get an immediate return on our investment there. On the operations side, we think that probably the first year will probably be about a $10 million loss of operation, and then probably within a year and a half, and by the end of year 2, we'll be back break even with our operation. I would like to do it quicker. I'm being pessimistic when I say 2 years, but we think in that first year it'll be close to probably 10 million loss. But the Department of Health right now, we have a pretty substantial bank account today, so we can easily absorb that.
One more.
Just a second. Just a second. Let me get to Ms. Marshall, then I'll come back to you. Okay. You didn't have any?
Are there any plans of, like, say, leasing out offices or anything to any outside doctors or any other type like that with this? Or is it going to be strictly for the Muskogee Creek Nation?
So today, the way that we currently operate, Mr. McHenry, is we have two ways that physicians can work with our operations. We can either pay that physician a day rate, and they come in and they utilize our equipment and utilize our services, and they use our electronic record, and we just pay them one single amount per day, and they see all of our patients that come. In other arrangements, they come, they use their equipment, they use their staff, they lease the space from us, and they do the billing and collections that way. So we could do either arrangement. It's usually dependent on what that physician prefers. Most of them that we have here in Okmulgee prefer to do it with the day rate. They have a guaranteed payment and they just see patients as they come in. So we do think that there could be some potential to lease space out if we wanted to. And we have had multiple people express interest to do that, but there's been really no final decisions made.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Mr. McHenry. Mr. Terry, I have a question for Kyle.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Hoskins. Have you reviewed the contract and everything? Is there any legal discrepancies that you see or that you are aware of?
I'm sure that Mr. Terry did a very good job of making an overall presentation relative to this process. You know, the Attorney General's office, we have kind of an unusual relationship when we deal with these kind of projects. It's not my job to determine if it's a good deal or a bad deal. We learned a lot of lessons from acquiring the Okmulgee Hospital. And quite honestly, we've learned from that. I wasn't here at that time, but having gone through that agreement, it is my responsibility to protect each and every one of you and protect this nation. And I'm a pessimist. That's what I do. So I look at things very, very carefully, and I have to assume the worst. And that is what I should do on your behalf. I should tell you exactly what you're getting into. Today, I gave a presentation in downtown Tulsa to a large number of the Tulsa County Bar Association members, and I asked for the gentleman who was the attorney at Prey Walker to meet me there. So after we got done with the presentation, he and I had the opportunity to talk about this agreement and about what was moving forward and how we felt like whether it was work or not. And both of us are very, very hopeful. I assured him that in my years here, I have seen this nation honor agreements that it probably should not, because it was the right thing to do. It may not legally necessarily have been the best thing to do, but you all are very proud of your reputation, and you've done a great job of maintaining your integrity with everyone else. So he and I had these kinds of conversations about our clients. But here's what I would point out to you first and foremost. When we take early occupancy, and it is about $500,000 a month, but it's plus bills, and if we go in and make a lot of capital improvements to the property, and then ultimately there's a failure to close, whatever improvements they've made to that property, they keep, and we don't get reimbursed for. Now, and this was the comment I was making to the attorney today, Will, when we were discussing this case, is I expressed to him, and I think it frustrated him a little bit, is this looks like a fire sale. It looks like a fire sale in the context of you're going out of business because you're not making money. You want to liquidate the property and go. Now, the entity that is making the transfer of this property is an LLC. Well, the reason that people form limited liability companies is just that, so the principals have no skin in the game. So they have nothing to lose. So a limited liability company, if you sue them and get a judgment, all you can do is attach the assets of the limited liability company. It's like giving birth to a child. And whatever that child owns is what you can get. The way this agreement is set up, when we pay the $5 million, the first $5 million, it's like earned income. And it's viewed as being theirs no matter what. It's non-refundable. And we really kind of wrestled around with the language, and Sean did a great job of going back to them and just simply telling them what is not acceptable to me. So they did make some revisions which were necessary to this agreement, but it's still $5 million that they acquire. Now, my comment to the attorney today that frustrated Will a little bit was, if we give you this money, and if in fact there's some sort of a fire sale going on, they'll take that money and they'll move it out of the LLC. Now, if they fail to close, they do owe us $5 million. But in the event that they're upside down, then you're limited to being able to collect from the LLC. And if the LLC has nothing, I can sue people all day long, but I'm going to get nothing back for you. So, it is my job to be a pessimist. That's what I am paid to do. He assures me that that's not the case, that these individuals have a great deal of money. And I said, well, all those assurances are wonderful. And he said, well, it's the same thing. He's trusting me at my word relative to this nation. And I said, well, I think it's a different circumstance, but nonetheless, he's right. I was vouching for the Muskogee Creek Nation. He was vouching for their clients. But I do want you to understand, there's the possibility if they don't close, because they cannot pass title. Our two remedies are to enforce specific performance. In other words, force them to close. But if there's some reason we shouldn't, well, we're not going to close. Or seek that $5 million in damages. And again, if I was an attorney representing those parties, I would say, once you give me your $5 million, we're taking it, moving it out of the LLC so nobody can touch it. Make sense? Okay, so I've done what I needed to do, and I apologize for being late. I was locked up with a lot of other attorneys on a phone call that I could not walk out on. We simply have a lot of other litigation cases all going at the same time. So, but that's what I wanted to tell you. And I'm not saying that this is a good deal. I'm not saying it's a bad deal. That is not my job. But if something happens, you can say, well, Haskins kind of told us about that. But you do have risk, clearly. Your risk is $5 million up front you may not ever be able to recover. Your risk is making improvements to the property that you will not ever get back. So how do you cure that? In my opinion, we don't use any of our people for any of our due diligence. We use outside people to do EMPs, electrical, mechanical, plumbing inspections, because if there's a failure, I want somebody to sue that has a license and a bond. So let's not use our internal people for closing purposes, for inspection purposes, environmental. Let's spend the money and have someone else look at it. That I can't just look over at someone that we work with and say, wow, you really messed that up. Okay? That would be my only recommendation. And with those things, from what Sean was saying, it sounds like a great deal. It sounds like a good opportunity. I wish that it had not hit the news. I think that's unfortunate because that creates expectations, with the public. It's great press, but it would not be good press if we don't pass it at this time. So, but nonetheless, it's out there with the press and it exists. It is your decision. It's not my responsibility to say it's a good deal or a bad deal. I was the one that was in the middle of this agreement and writing it up and making recommendations and changes with opposing counsel. They're good lawyers, but so am I. Anything else?
Thank you, sir. Representative Tiger.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Mr. Haskins, for being here. I appreciate that. Is there any way you could add language into this agreement to protect us from them putting that money somewhere besides their LLC?
We talked about that. And I think the only way I can really say it is it's a deal killer. Initially, when this agreement came up and it was first sent to me,
Mr.
it was
Haskins.
absolutely, I'm
Speaking
sorry,
of microphone.
it was absolutely, they were absolutely insistent that $5 million was paid up front and it was non-refundable. It was theirs under all circumstances. I said that, it's just not going to happen. It cannot happen. So in all fairness, This was some give and take, some exchange to get it back to a position where we had a remedy against them for $5 million. But I do want you to understand the purpose of creating a limited liability company is to limit your personal exposure. And the personal exposure of that LLC is not the person we're negotiating with. It's like an individual that lives and breathes, and it only has whatever it possesses. And if that $5 million when it's paid, if I was representing them, whether they're liquid or not, I would be saying, make your distributions and move it out of the LLC into another place. Now, certainly if they fail and we get a judgment for $5 million, I can pursue them in the state of Illinois and try to argue that that was improper to transfer that money out when they had a debt obligation, a known debt obligation. But we're talking about me or somebody else going to Illinois to fight and pursue a limited liability company. And the laws of Illinois are very favorable to limited liability companies, and they are very harsh towards creditors. So to answer your question, Representative, the answer is no. We've gone as far as we can go and still have this move.
Thank you, Mr. Haskins. Thank you, Speaker.
Anyone else?
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Any other discussion?
I have
Representative Deere.
a question for Mr. Terry. For Mr. Terry.
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Terry, what is the funding source for this purchase?
I don't know that we have made a final decision on what the funding source for the purchase is. We have discussed using some COVID funding because, as many of you know, part of our decision of needing this facility had to do when COVID hit. There became a point when there was no place to transfer our people to. And we hope that this allows us not to be put into that position again. So we think there could be some use of COVID funds, that there would be some of our third-party funds, but we've been working with the controller and the chief's office, and we've looked at multiple funding sources, and I think we've got about 3 months to work through this thing to make a final determination that you would be a part of. But I don't know that it's been locked down.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Deere.
Speaker.
Representative Lowe.
Hello, Speaker. Secretary Terry, will this facility be open to the public or tribal citizens only?
It will be open to the public. We're going to treat this exactly the way that we treat Okemah and Okmulgee. As you guys may or may not know, we do about 2,000 emergency room visits a month out of Okemah and Okmulgee, and we transfer about 60% of those patients into Tulsa. So we'll be able to transfer patients out of our facilities into our own facility, and also we'll be able to market these services into South Tulsa. So we will treat it exactly the way we do our other hospitals.
Thank you, sir. Hello, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Lowe. Representative Tiger.
Thank you, Speaker. Secretary Terry, after hearing Mr. Haskins' comments about the agreement, do you have any comments you'd like to add to that as well?
Speaker, I don't. I'm not a real estate expert, and I would have to, rely on the Attorney General's office and our realty department on this. He is correct. The terminology that was in the agreement, the first agreement gave us no out if for that $5 million. Kyle identified that and made a recommendation that said that if CTCA didn't have the ability to close, that we should get that $5 million back. I went back to him and said that, if we back out of the deal, then you're keeping that $5 million. If you can't complete the sale for whatever reason, then we get the $5 million back. So we thought that was the spirit of what is in this agreement. If it's not, I'm happy to have the Attorney General's office reproach it. I don't know that you can ever build the safeguards in that would protect it completely, but once again, that's not my area of expertise, is real estate investment for sure. So, but that's my thoughts about it.
Thank you, Secretary Terry. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Any other discussion? Sorry, Representative Freeman.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, there's other cancer treatment centers across the country, right?
There are, yes.
And what kind of scenario is why this cancer treatment failed here in Tulsa?
Well, I don't have direct access to their financials, so I can only really speculate. And the Oklahoma market for cancer treatment center is difficult because of, from my understanding, I'm only reading what they have in the papers of different contracting network problems, whether that was with different payers, and so forth. You know, hospital pricing and insurance pricing is very tricky, and I'd hate to speculate, but I do know that they relied on a large number of their patients. They do regional care. It's not just Oklahoma patients. They bring patients out of Texas and Oklahoma. I've heard speculation that COVID really hurt that business because patients couldn't come across the state and so forth. So I think that there's multiple reasons why, but it's not really mine to comment on, but that's the best that's rumor.
So are we in a negotiation with their corporate side or just a local entity of what?
So CTCA, Cancer Treatment Centers of America, they own the business of cancer treatment, and we are negotiating with the LLC, that is the family, the Stevenson family. They own the real estate of that. So cancer treatment centers went away. They're closed down, they're gone, and now we're just in this discussion with the real estate.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Freeman.
Speaker.
Representative Tiger.
Thank you, Speaker. Secretary Terry, have you by chance had an opportunity to discuss the title and deed? Do you feel that there will be any issues in that area?
I have not. I've seen those. I've seen it happen lots of times. So who knows? Kyle's given me more education about titles and how people file things onto that. So once again, it's not my area. I haven't seen the title, but I'll hope that it goes for the best.
Thank you, Secretary Terry. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Representative Jennings.
Thank you, Speaker. So, Mr. Terry, asking about the title and everything. So, are we going to put this property in trust?
My personal opinion is that I don't know that there's probably any better time for a nation to put a piece of property into trust than what we have with the new Secretary of Interior right now. So it would be, if you were taking my advice, I would say we ought to go do it immediately if we have the ability.
Okay, thank you. I have one other. So with this, the Muskogee Creek Nation putting a hospital in the Tulsa area, how will that affect the funding for Tulsa Indian Health Resource Center? Will we take part of the money that goes to them now, and which, I mean, they take a part of what comes to us, really, I think.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know that that's been thought through entirely. Right now there's language with the Indian Healthcare Resource Center that we can't compact those operations. I think those deals were signed way before any of us was probably on the council or in administration here. So we would have to really kind of go back and look at all of that. I think it is time for us to look at our interaction with the Tulsa Indian Healthcare Resource Center. You know, it is a little disappointing to me that that building resides in the Muskogee Creek Nation, and they don't have a Muskogee Creek citizen that's on their board. So I do think that we ought to push them for that. And then also with our language about assuming more of our care from Claremore Indian, we will be taking about $2.9 million of our funds out of Claremore Contract Health and bringing those into these operations as well. So that's going to help us dig our way out of the hole fairly quickly there when you look at our return on investment, Mr. Lowe. But I do think it's time for us to look at them, our interactions with them for sure.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Jenny. Representative Freeman, do you have another question? No? Okay. Representative Jones.
Thank you, Speaker. Question is, thank you, Mr. Terry. As far as the ER emergency services, are you going to provide an ambulance for your ER, and how will that work?
So in our capital planning that we wrote out on a whiteboard over the last couple of weeks, we do think that we put a $12 million emergency room expansion onto this project. We think that that would be a logical next step as we do that. So we have started thinking about it. As you know, we've already started the process of approving a new 12-bed, 14,000 square foot emergency room in Okmulgee that we're going to hopefully be able to start construction on very soon. For those of you that haven't been by to see the hospital lately, we've been painting the entire outside of the facility. It looks fantastic. We finished all of the renovation on the outside, so we're very, very proud of where that is. But we've set that aside as a project, but definitely it's at the top of our list.
Other question is, what do you think you'll call it, or the name of the hospital be?
Well, that's been a good debate over the last 2 days, Mr. Jones. I had a name picked out, and then I brought the name up this morning and found out there were some names that it matched a little bit too closely. So I put on the front of your paper, Muskogee Creek Nation Specialty Hospital, until we come up with the appropriate name. But we'll find the right fit.
Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Jones. Representative Tiger.
Thank you, Speaker. Chief Hill, Second Chief Beaver, do you all have anything you would like to add? Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Mr. Terry, when you first arrived to the nation, do you recall how much the Muskogee Creek Nation hospitals were in the red?
Yes, sir.
Opposed to where we are now?
Yes, sir.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
So, you know, prior to coming, the Muskogee Creek Nation was in considerable debt in the Department of Health, and they were in a negative operating budget. They was losing about $2 million a month, and they were, I think, close to about a $65 million deficit. They were bringing in about $1.8 million in third-party revenue. Today, we're doing anywhere from $8 to $9 million in third-party revenue. I think that our current holdings we're setting somewhere around $200 to $240 million in cash in our investment account. Our Department of Health has done exceptionally well. Our team has done exceptionally well. Our staff are absolutely committed. We've made some terrific wins legislatively with being able to capitalize on the 105L lease that we described to you, where we've been able to really start to enhance our third-party billing. We're going to really even increase our third-party billing again with our hospital-based clinics that we're getting ready to launch forward. in the near future. That's going to take that $9 million a month up to about probably $11 or $12 million a month. We are in a very different economic position than we were 5 years ago.
Thank you, sir. And council, I just wanted to point that out, and kudos to you and your staff for a job well done, going from red to black. And to me, it just says a lot about you and your staff, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Speaker. And just since this is our first time in front of the, it feels very good. Thanks to Chief Hill for ending the state of emergency. We thank God for where we are at the state of COVID. Last year was an absolute horrendous year, and I can't thank each of you guys enough for the support that you showed me and the Department of Health team. We couldn't have made it through without your leadership and support, and all of us owe you a debt of gratitude for there. And so kudos to your guys' leadership as well for what happened last year. It was an awful year, and I think that everybody in this country looked at the leadership of the Muskogee Creek Nation and what the Department of Health and the amount of testing and vaccination and leadership through there, and this nation should be proud of what we did. So thank you all for that.
Thank you, Mr. Terry. Any other discussion?
Hey, Speaker.
Representative Hicks.
I just asked that I could be added as a co-sponsor to this legislation.
You want to be added to the?
Yes.
To the co-sponsor. Okay.
Also, one short little comment. I know that there have been many of, I guess, things the tribe's gone after throughout the years that we've funded, and we've lost a lot of money, and there's never been no return back on those. So taking this chance of, the possibility of losing this $5 million, to me, that's a small chance compared to what this return is going to be if it does go through. So I am in complete support of this legislation. Thank
you, Representative Hicks. Representative Hicks and Representative Jones has been asked to be co-sponsors. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Lucian Tiger,
Yes.
Mary Crawford,
Yes.
Joyce Steer,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Joseph Hicks,
Yes.
James Jennings,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
William Lowe,
Yes.
Anna Marshall,
Yes.
Charles McHenry,
Yes.
Thomasina Hulla Osborne,
Yes.
Darrell Proctor.
Yes.
Speaker, 12 in favor, 0 against.
12 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 21066. A law of the Muskogee Creek Nation amending MCNCA Title 31, subsection 3-101, entitled Compensation for Certain Officers or Employees of the Muskogee Creek Nation. Sponsors Lucian Tiger III. Co-sponsors Mary Crawford, James Jennings, Anna Marshall, Joyce Deere.
Speaker, make a motion to adopt.
Motion made by Representative Lucian Tiger III to adopt NCA 21066. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Jennings. Discussion.
Speaker.
Representative Tiger.
Thank you, Speaker. Basically, we're adding, if you'll notice in Section 2, subsection 3-101, adding the language Health Department Professionals into this. Mr. Terry, would you like to elaborate on this as well, please?
Thank you, Chairman. As we were pursuing putting a budget together for the operations of Tulsa, we started making phone calls to some qualified applicants, only to find out that we were not even close to being comparable to the salaries that they were currently making. We then turned and went to this hospital executive compensation report. For those of you that's been part of Health Committee, you may have heard of us using MGMA as part of the way that we make decisions for doctors and nurses and medical professionals. This is a report that is used in the hospital executive compensation report, and it does show that we are paying about 50% of what a hospital and healthcare institution of our size would pay. So this would, as you know, that this language that is that was created discussed the health professionals and the employees of the nation not being able to make more than the principal chief. And I would say that this, it would be my opinion that this language is a little antiquated. We really need to look at how we're paying our professionals, not only in the Department of Health, but I would think all across the board of the nation. I think that that always needs to be assessed. And I know that the principal chief has instructed Mr. Janusek to be doing comparable type of studies, and if he wants to speak to that, I would allow the chief to do that. Chief, if you want to say anything about that at all, if that's okay.
Thank you, council members. As I mentioned before, that we had the HR department review all the salaries and benefit. And it should be completed this week. And once I receive it, if you want me to, I'll send it to the National Council. And I know I've spoken with Representative Tiger before that a lot of our salaries across the board, it's not equal to the people that we want to get in. So Mr. Terry with this, on the health side, but we're definitely doing the, not the survey, but the justification or the salary wage adjustment to see what we can do throughout the nation. But once I do it, it should be completed this week, and once I receive that, I'll forward it on to you, Speaker.
Okay, thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Speaker. Thank you, Secretary Terry.
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Any
Speaker.
other discussion?
Speaker, just a comment, sir.
Representative Lowe.
Hello, Speaker. Just a general comment. I appreciate Chief and Secretary Terry your efforts on these salary analysis. I think it's long overdue, and definitely want to pay the right price for the right people so we can be continuously progressive. So thank you all. That's all I got to say, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Lowe. Any other discussion? Thank you, Mr. Terry. Go ahead, sir.
Speaker, I apologize. I would like to announce that we are going to be on the Cancer Treatment Center campus tomorrow from about 8 to 3. And if any of you guys would like to come up and take a tour, we'll be there almost all the day. So feel free to come up and we'll be happy to walk you through the building.
Mr. Terry, if you would, send me an email with the address. That way I'll just forward it to the full
We'll do
council,
that
please.
for sure.
Thank you, sir. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Lucian Tiger III,
Yes.
Mary Crawford,
Yes.
Joyce Steer,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman, Joseph Hicks,
Yes.
James Jennings,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
William Lowe,
Yes.
Anna Marshall,
Yes.
Charles McHenry,
Yes.
Thomasina Hola Osborne,
Yes.
Darrell Proctor.
Yes.
Speaker at 12 in favor, 0 against.
12 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 21067, a law of Muskogee Creek Nation appropriating funds to be used for the operation budget for the newly purchased hospital, formerly known as the Cancer Treatment Centers of America, Tulsa, located in Tulsa, Oklahoma, for the remainder of fiscal year 2021. Sponsor is Lucian Tiger III. Co-sponsors, Mary Crawford, James Jennings, Anna Marshall, Joyce Deer.
Speaker, make motion to adopt.
Motion made by Representative Tiger III to adopt NCA 21067, seconded by Representative Jones. Discussion.
Speaker.
Representative Tiger.
Thank you. Secretary Terry spoke on this briefly earlier, what this money would be used for. Is there anything else you would like to add, Secretary Terry? Thank you. Thank you, Speaker.
Thank you, Representative Tiger. Council, any other discussion? Representative Hicks.
Speaker, I'd like to ask the sponsor if I could be added to this legislation as well as a
Okay.
co-sponsor.
Add Representative Hicks as co-sponsor. Also, Adam Jones. Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Tiger third,
Yes.
Mary Crawford. Yes. Joyce Steer,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman, Joseph Hicks,
Yes.
James Jennings,
Yes.
Adam Jones,
Yes.
William Lowe,
Yes.
Anna Marshall,
Yes.
Charles McHenry,
Yes.
Thomasina Hulla Osborne,
Yes.
Gerald Proctor.
Yes.
Speaker, of 12 in favor, 0 against.
12 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. NCA 21068, a law of the Muskogee Creek Nation authorizing a budget modification in excess of 10% for Muskogee Nation Youth Council. Sponsors William Lowe.
Speaker, make a motion to adopt.
Motion made by Representative William Lowe to adopt NCA 21068. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Representative Jones. Discussion.
Speaker, I'd like to give some time to Secretary Miranda Carmen, please.
Okay, Ms. Carmen, if you would come forward, please. Good evening, ma'am.
Hi, good evening, Speaker. Good evening, Council. This legislation is for a budget modification in excess of 10%. The Youth Council primarily uses this budget to travel to the Unity Conference, and they are not able to travel to that conference this year. So they are requesting to move that approximately $16,000 to their student activities. They plan to continue their care packages for the Youth Council, the Eufaula Dorm, and the Muro Indian Home. The cultural arts classes they plan to continue, and they're going to have a retreat for the Youth Council that's local. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Carmen. Any other questions? Discussion for Ms. Carmen. No questions, Ms. Carmen. Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
William Lowe,
Yes.
Anna Marshall,
Yes.
Charles McHenry,
Yes.
Thomasina Hulla Osborne,
Yes.
Gerald Proctor,
Yes.
Lucian Tiger third,
Yes.
Mary Crawford,
Yes.
Joyce Steer,
Yes.
Patrick Freeman,
Yes.
Joseph Hicks,
Yes.
James Jennings,
Yes.
Adam Jones.
Yes.
Speaker, of 12 in favor, 0 against.
12 in favor, 0 against. That motion is adopted. That concludes the order of business. Next item is announcements. Any announcements, council? Well, I just want to say the people that are here this evening, thank you for coming. It's a little bit back to normal, I guess I should say, and it's good to see some people tonight. So just wanted to say that. Representative Lowe.
Speaker, just wanted to say congratulations to the Oklahoma Sooners for winning the championship today. So, Boomer.
Boomer. Any other announcements? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Representative Tiger made a motion to adjourn,
Second.
seconded by Representative Hicks. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. At this time, I'd like to ask Representative Tiger to do the benediction, please.
Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this day and the many blessings that you have given us. Thank you for being with the elected officials today, letting us do what we feel is best at this point in time for our nation, and do the health care so we can better service our citizens. Please just please be with us all as we head back to our homes. In your name I pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Representative Tiger. Meeting adjourned, 7:04.